I think it's important to note that one of the things that makes Bitcoin so safe is that you can move your Bitcoin from one safekeeping service to another. Michael Saylor thinks that Bitcoin will grow a lot in the future as it spreads naturally. Bitcoin has grown faster than any other asset. It went from being a mysterious form of internet money to a $1 trillion asset that is accepted by big businesses and banks around the world. Sources say that US banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BNY are now trying to keep Bitcoin and Ethereum for their rich customers even though they used to turn them down. It is one of the biggest custodian banks in the world. Last month, ABNY Mellon spokesperson told Bloomberg that the bank has been working with its banking officials to offer large-scale Bitcoin and Ethereum custody services and will continue to do so. The bank is looking for more government permits so it can take advantage of the lucrative crypto custody business. Michael Saylor thinks that Bitcoin will be worth $13 million in 2014. This is just a sneak peek into the future of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. Reach big investors and multi-trillion-dollar companies like Apple and Microsoft can now invest in the future of finance. This is a big moment for Bitcoin and the world's banking system as a whole. Saylor said that Bitcoin's next era of exponential growth will change finance and investing in a recent talk with Ramp Media. Before you do that, please click like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and post notifications to get more videos like this. When a CFO can send $1 billion to their bank, they should buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and keep it there. There's no risk, right? Or what they think is a low risk, right? These are two big banks that both failed. So Apple and Microsoft owners don't worry too much about the risk they take when they do business with Bank of America, JP Morgan or Citi, right? That or Wells Fargo, that's a really important thing. When all three are in place, fair accounting, fair treatment of stocks or trading, and fair treatment of banks, then big businesses will decide that this is the right thing to do. You'll have problems until you get past those three. It's important to note that a big part of Bitcoin security comes from the fact that you can move your Bitcoin from one wallet to another. If you owned a $10 billion collection of real estate in New York City, you couldn't move it to Tokyo. Okay, and if you have a lot of ETFs, you might not be able to move them to a different ETF provider without having to pay more taxes. This is the main reason why creating and redeeming cash is not as efficient as creating and redeeming goods. And if you had an in-kind create redemption, you could take a redemption that wasn't taxed and Bitcoin, move it to a different ETF provider, and then trade that for shares without a redemption. It is very important to be able to move your asset between different people, different custodians, and different places without having a taxable event happen. So if you own Bitcoin itself. And you know what? That keeps everyone honest and the market lively. The mayor of the city knows that the building can't be moved, so they can raise the tax rate on homes by 2 times. And you're not going to move the building. The only thing you can do is try to get them removed from office. What if, as a Bitcoin custodian in Singapore, you raise the upkeep fee or the custody fee by 2 or 3 times? Then Bitcoin might be able to fill in the blank. Not the same place, Paris, London, the US, or anywhere else. Or if you had 2 guardians in New York City, the Bitcoin could go from one to the other. Saylor talks about the Bitcoin 24 model in his interview. This is an open source macro model that predicts asset growth and acceptance over the next 21 years. He also talks about micro models that can be used to compare different Bitcoin strategies for individuals, companies, organizations, and national governments. The model gives 2 possible outcomes for how Bitcoin will do over the next 21 years, a base case and a bull case. This is about the same as Saylor's base case that the most valuable digital product is worth $13 million. Saylor gave his macro Bitcoin prognosis for 2045 at a conference in Nashville earlier this year. It included a base situation, a bull case, and a bear case for the most popular cryptocurrency in 2021. As a basic rule, Saylor thinks that during that time, the price of Bitcoin will go up by at least $4,300 from its current level of $68,000 to $3 million. Based on Saylor's main idea, Bitcoin would be worth $13 million by 2045, a huge increase from its current value. This would make the market worth 280 times more than it is now, $1.3 trillion vs. $280 trillion. In these other parts of his interview with On-Ramp Media, he says the same thing about his forecast. He also said that no other type of investment or business idea will be able to beat Bitcoin's rate of return over the next few years. I always like a settlement of T1 year. And Bitcoin is T1 hour in the worst case. Yes. So if you know what I mean, people often get stuck in their lives. They believe that Satoshi taught us not to trust anyone. I don't think that's what Satoshi taught us. I believe Satoshi's lesson is, if you can keep your money safe for 1,000 years without anyone else having it, you've made great money, right? My ideal digital wealth, I believe that is the first lesson. Another thing I think is important to remember is that if you can move Bitcoin without a trusted third party, you have an open global network. In reality, it means that 300 million businesses can make deals with each other. That means 50,000 banks can come to an agreement. In this way, it turns into a settlement network. We become crypto radicals when we teach people that they can't trust businesses, banks, or the government. That being said, Apple, the hospital, and insurance companies are all businesses. Also, Uber is a business. And the US government does good things, right? Like the government in your city. Sewers, water, power, etc. The power company is a business. If you like the idea, there are companies that will give you food, power, transportation like air travel, freight, and other things. In that case, you think, okay, companies are probably fine. And if you agree with that idea, you might think, okay, well, I got a self-custody. Like, how can a 12-year-old kid take care of themselves? How does an Alzheimer's-stricken 85-year-old take care of themselves? This idea that you should never trust a corporate guardian is also a kind of strict devotional and ideological thought. In reality, there are many times when you want a company to focus on parenting. The same way we use Apple to keep our pictures safe, you can complain about our papers and whatever else. But I haven't seen any crypto anarchists come up with a way to stop being so dependent on Apple and Google and Microsoft, which is what we have now. I don't think the main idea is that Bitcoin lets you avoid having to depend on an administrator. The main idea behind Bitcoin is that it creates a competitive market for storage around the world. You can send $10 billion to any of hundreds of millions of possible guardians in just 1 hour from anywhere in the world. So that makes a market that is competitive a free global capital market and a way for every type of ownership and every country to make money. One more thing. If all else fails, you can take control of your own child. Also, as a last option, you can't take custody of your own $10 billion worth of Apple stock. You also can't take self-custody of real estate worth $10 billion as a last option. Not only that, but you can't keep $10 billion worth of gold for yourself as a last option. In this case, the last option is useful, but there are more useful things in life. This is something that every business knows. It's like yelling at General Electric or Exxon that if they don't give you a better deal, you'll just drill for the oil yourself when you need to buy power oil. That doesn't make sense, right? They laugh at you and look at you like, yeah, sure, you're going to start your own oil company and drill for your own oil. I'm sure you will. Yes. A much better way to talk to the gas